fairly straightforward selection-wise. Texas had his week off.
Yeah, so Tex freshened up, feels great. Trained today, so we'll have to make sure we get through that session. But all our intent is for him to come back in, and it was really pleasing to see the way the guys went about it without him out there. He sat upstairs with us in the box and got a different look at the game, which I think will benefit him too.
Is it straightforward? Matt just said it's straightforward as selection, but do you expect it to go in pretty similarly?
It's never straightforward. Yeah. But I think Tex is in our best 22, and after being managed, he'll come back in. It's not straightforward though, how we go about that, and who might be unfortunate to miss out. But we've spoken about a few other players that we know are at a point in their careers where it is a long season, and so we've got to do the right thing by them for them to be at their best, and Laddie's one of those. So we'll have a look again today. We've got to see how the session goes, how the group get through it, who pulls up well, Laddie being one of those, and we'll keep a close eye on that.
Has he been on the precipice the last few weeks of possibly a rest? I mean, he spoke 2 days ago about how he's got a different soreness now. Rather than that upper body physical, it's more the legs and that sort of stuff that he's having to manage.
It's more about him managing himself into a game. There's the occasional week where he feels really sore and gets himself just right for the game, comes out and performs probably as good as he can. We've got to keep a close eye on that we don't grind him into the ground where he can't perform. But the last few weeks he's probably played some of his best footy. So we don't want to flirt with that. We don't want to mess around with momentum. We'd like to keep that momentum that the team's got, and what Laddie is, he's an important part of the team's performance. So it'll be a decision we'll look at later this afternoon after the session. How does he pull up?
Are we moving away from the need to name a team on a Thursday night for a Sunday game? Like, from a coaching point of view, do you have a preference on how you'd like to sort of put out your team to your fans and others?
Yeah, I think we're becoming more flexible as a playing group around how we prepare, knowing that things do change, that the challenge to get yourself up and going every week is there. And you don't want to make a decision too early and lock something in, so we've got to be flexible. The subs made us do that. To get your head around the challenge of being a sub, sitting on the bench, I think it's underrated how players do that. Watching a game of footy from ground level and then being expected to step out there and just go. So I think with that, our guys have become a lot more flexible in their understanding of we won't necessarily lock our team in until day before, or if not game day sometimes.
So Nankervis set out both games last week. Obviously was going to come in if there are any last minute problems. Is he the one that's best to come in should Laird get a rest, or do you look elsewhere?
Well, again, there's a number of guys that we're in a fortunate position that guys are playing good footy below. Wasn't our best at an SANFL point of view from a team point of view, but we got some guys that, Bondi's been in great form. He brings a certain intensity to our backline that we know we're going to need against a team that will come out, and the contest is going to be crucial. Brodie Smith's been basically knocking on the door the entire season. He's ready to go if called upon. Nank's one of those who hasn't played for a few weeks. Unfortunately for us, the buys in the SANFL, it doesn't necessarily align, so we've got to manage through that as well, of who we do rest and take as a non-player. But yeah, there's a number of things we'll look at, but we've still got a session to get through, and so nothing's locked in until we can get through that and make sure we're clean. We've got no injuries in training.
A lot of the fans are, at least online, are keen to see Edwards. Do you need to reward good form eventually at some stage this season?
As I mentioned before, there's a lot of guys in good form. We would love to keep the same side week in, week out, which means we're more than likely winning games. So the question's an interesting one. They're all hypotheticals. We would, if we need to make a change for us to improve, we'll do it. But it's not necessarily, you're in good form, you come in. If the AFL side's in good form, we'll keep it as is, and we won't flirt with that momentum.
Luke Pedler's a guy with so much potential, and obviously he's one who, up until the weekend, had struggled to get in the side. How big was that, not just for his season, but also his career, to come in last week and put in a performance as good as he did that sort of would say that he could keep his place?
Yeah, probably the challenge we've given him this season is when your opportunity shows itself, which it did through management, you've got to be ready, and we need you to come in and perform a role. And it's interesting because I'm not sure how people from outside are rating his game, but there's a lot more than what you would have seen in the TV screen that we were pleased with. So he came in and did what we were after. The challenge now is if you're going to bring one back in, who misses out? And so it's a good position for us to be in. If we get through the session today, it'd be nice to have that pressure on spots, and someone will be unlucky. But again, we'll go pretty hard out there today, so I can't guarantee you that that'll be the case.
You spoke a few weeks ago about Sam Berry being too good, almost in the sub role, and compared to making a good coffee. Surely he probably can't be a sub for a while after that sort of run out.
Depends on what the team needs. Bez knows that, so we haven't made a decision at all around that, so I'm not hiding anything from you. But yeah, if the team needs Bez to be our sub, he will be it. And he's such a high character, he'll embrace it and go again. But I agree with you, I thought he was great on the weekend for 4 quarters.
Been a lot of talk about the forward line mix, and you got to look at it. One less tall on the weekend. Are you confident you know that you've got the better mix with the extra tall, or is it a chop and change depending on how the game plays out?
Yeah, it's an ongoing conversation for us. Scotty Burns does a great job for us, as our forwards coach, and looking at the real detail in around what he feels we need, and then we liaise around that. The weekend was a great result for us, probably for a half of footy. I thought, especially in that third quarter when we played a more predictable style of footy. We showed it can work with a slightly different mix ahead. In saying that, when we play our brand of footy and we've got the talls down there, we know that can work as well. So we want to remain flexible in that space. We're not going to lock in that it has to be 3 talls. It'll be about guys who's in form. And as we spoke about, Pedler came in and played a really solid game in a role that we needed him to.
Swans have shown a proclivity to using a tagger. I think it might have been Bowie on the weekend, more a midfielder before that. Do you have plans depending on if he goes to like a halfback or more of a midfielder? I mean, it seems like a Rake and Dawson would be the obvious choice, but how do you sort of prepare for that?
Well, we just have a look at their history, and they're as good as any when it comes to the contest. And listening to Coxie after the weekend's game, they were really disappointed with that part of their game. They very rarely do 2 of those in a row, and we know they're going to come out breathing fire. Part of that will be a player that's going to give one of our best a lot of attention. Wouldn't be surprised if Jordan goes to Jordan, which they've done before. And it's one thing to know it's going to happen; it's another thing to be able to try and beat it. He's a very, very good tagger, and has shown that he's important to them. But their contest all over the ground is what they win and lose games by, and they'll bring it this week.
It feels like there's going to be a lot of ruck movement in the off season. Are you hopeful, or do you want Rob to still be here and that merry-go-round stops spinning at the end of the season?
Yeah, Rob knows I love Rob, so Rob's okay. It's one of those things that's something that he and the club are working through at the moment. He's having a fantastic year. And I think even speaking with Rob, I think the pre-season really helped him, having Lockie McAndrew here. With Strawny going down early, Lockie really challenged him in a different way, similar to what he gets on game days where you get unique, different style ruckman in. So I think it made him better. There were times where Lockie beat him in the pre-season and then Rob adjusted, and he's a very intelligent footballer and he's able to work through the challenges. One of his weapons this year, Rob's been his ability to nullify opposition ruck's strengths. And then he's taken his game to another level, so it's quite impressive this year.
From an overall perspective, Matty, where have you seen the most growth in this group so far this season to get into the top 4 at this stage of the year?
Yeah, it's a clear one for me. It's a connection piece, which again, it's not necessarily TV screen stuff. It's things that we look back over and we review as a group as far as our cohesion and that connection. We play a certain way and we need players to embrace that, and we've brought in a few guys this year that have added to what we were already working on. Our ability, not just executing, kicking, marking and handballing, it's the connection piece off ball, positioning. Alex Neil-Bullen's, his leadership and experience has been huge. Isaac Cummings come in and what's happened with that is it's contagious. Some of our other leaders have now learnt from these guys and stepped up in that space. So we're better connected, which gives us more consistency. I think you look at our season, we've been pretty strong across all quarters. If we have lost a game, and we did that with Geelong and even Freo, it hasn't been a blowout. We've been in there, and we've got areas we've still got to be better at, but we've definitely been more consistent this season.
Are you confused by the ruling at the tribunal last night? Alex Pearce, now free to play.
To talk to that one, no, I understand it. Like they're all quite complex. There's so much in all of these different cases that are coming up. I am a little confused, but not necessarily in that one. So, yeah, there's been the odd one where I feel like maybe it shouldn't have been weeks, or there's been a few where I actually look back and wonder why is that not, missing a week or two of footy, or it's just a fine. But I also understand the complexities of it. Like there's so many different factors in, and when you get the vision that we do, where there's a lot more to it, it's a lot clearer than what you're seeing in the TV screen, then you start to understand. I think the Pearce one's an example of that, where his eyes were for the ball. So, yeah, the detail's important. It's not as clear cut as maybe some think.
Is it hard to coach, or is it something? Do you address it as a coach?
Oh, it's not an area I spend enough time in, because I'll just lose my marbles if I do that. I've got other areas we've got to work on, and that's us being better.
Did the picture scandal last week, did you need to address it as a board or group? Did the player need to speak to the group and apologise or do whatever?
Not necessarily last week. It had been addressed. What we addressed was that it's unacceptable. It's not who we are. Club put out a statement, and it's probably where I'd leave it. But yeah, it wasn't something we needed to address again. It had already been addressed.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Rob.